practical session with some actual real world scenarios and use cases of AI tools for in the context of product management. Some of these tools I have myself been using in my day-to-day everyday life, and that's what I'm going to share. Not going to focus on the building of AI tools and so on and so forth. So let's jump right into it. Let me know if you can see my screen, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mayank.
Cool. Thank you so much for confirming. All right. Quick introduction about me. I'm a senior product manager with Deliveroo. I look at the partner acquisition and onboarding charter, essentially ensuring the right set of restaurants and grocery partners can come onto the platform. Prior to this, spent about 5 years at Gojek, which was Indonesia's first unicorn. I was working on the food delivery app there, looking at the order experience vertical. And that was one of the good experiences that I've had in terms of just pure product management culture. So that's about me. I'll talk about. I don't want to go into details of the charter itself, but there is a separate session that I've taken on machine learning products and how to build machine learning products. We'll not be covering that today. So just want to make this clear that there's going to be a session where we talk about how you can use AI in your everyday life as a PM to boost your productivity. It's a very tactical session. I'll actually open up some AI tools and show you how I have automated some workflows for myself. And this will give you some ideas about how you can also use these tools to improve a little bit of your productivity. And this is not going to be a session where we focus on building AI tools as a PM, becoming AI product managers. There's, as I said, separate session where I covered a little bit about how to build machine learning products, which is separate. One important thing to note is that some of these tools you may not be able to fit in your existing workflow. So decide and choose how and which tool fits your need. This should give you some ideas and open up some avenues for you to explore these tools. And I'm not promoting the usage of any particular tool, but feel free to use the same automations that we go through today. And some of these tools have helped me, and I hope that they help you as well. All right. So with that, my first, I think, question is, how are you currently? I am sure everyone is aware about this uptick of AI tools in our everyday life, right? It started probably 7 to 8 months back with ChatGPT as one of the main AI powered tools. What is everyone using today? Just want to get a sense of how do you currently use AI tools, and maybe some of these tools even I'm not aware about. So please pop it in the chat. Some of the tools that you're using and how you're using it very, very quickly in a one-line sentence. I think only people in Zoom might be able to do this. People outside, I don't know if you can track any inputs coming in from LinkedIn.
We have Priyal or Manish dropping in responses from LinkedIn as well.
Okay. Talk to PDF version of GPT, try to create some PPT version using AI tools. Yeah, that's definitely one of the use cases for PMs where we need to present something on a deck. In fact, just to create the deck today, I use ChatGPT for getting some content and just opening up my brain for what could be the structure of this conversation itself. Drafting long emails, okay. Summaries and suggestions, okay. So usually what I'm getting is maybe creating of content is what everyone is using AI tools for as the first big use case. Yeah. Mid-journey for quick visualization. Got it. Cool. So we will talk about one, how we can create content and how we can better make some content. So I'll focus a little bit on that. And then the second big part is as a PM in everyday life, how can you, apart from creating content, also automate some of the workflows that you have. Maybe it's about you as a PM, you attend a lot of meetings. How can you summarize meeting discussions and collaborate with people better? So I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Cool. So just quickly, what the agenda will cover. A little bit of why use AI. I think probably everyone knows about this, but essential to cover in terms of how you even think about using AI in your different workflows that you have. Right, some of it may not be so obvious, so this should open up those non-obvious avenues as well. And what are the common use cases for PMs, and where can you apply these AI powered tools? And then some real life walkthroughs of how can you organize customer discovery, write a feature PRD, and then followed with some takeaways. So jumping into why use AI. So the first obvious is efficiency, right? Efficiency can be through automation of repetitive tasks, which frees up valuable time for us to focus on higher value activities such as strategy and innovation. In fact, this is one of the things that is being foreseen in the future, that now because these content creation tools exist, everyone in their own function will start taking up more work. PMs will start doing more of design, designers will start doing more of product, engineers will start doing more of product and design, right? So you need to be able to, as a PM, focus on higher value activities, which today cannot be done through AI. For example, you can automate tasks such as sending status reports, managing project schedules, right? This can free up your time to focus on strategic tasks like these discussions and solving more thornier problems on the product itself. In fact, even without AI, personally, I was trying to automate most of the tasks and processes that were manually being done. So I'll give a quick anecdote here. Back at Gojek, I wanted my team to be able to look at metrics and track our progress and be more aware about our metrics itself, our engineering team. And I started with a very manual process to discuss our dashboards at the start of every planning session. So every weekly planning session, I would open up the dashboard, discuss what the movement of the metrics has been. Right now, this was a very manual process where I was going through this dashboard every week, spending 15 to 20 minutes of my time in the meeting to discuss the metrics, what it means for us, what are the insights. The automated way of doing this was, what I did is there was an integration of Metabase, which was a visualization tool with Slack. And just before the weekly meeting, I scheduled Slack to pull in this report from Metabase and show us the numbers right before the meeting. And everyone just before the meeting would have looked at the dashboard rather than me going to do this, going to go through that, right? Now, still, it doesn't give you insights. It shows you a dashboard. But in the future, and I'm pretty sure some of the tools have already started doing this, which is looking at dashboard and synthesizing what the insights are, can be automated, right? You then spend time discussing what can be done to fix if these metrics are not moving in the right direction, rather than just discussing the movement of metrics. So a lot of this is becoming more automated, more driven through AI itself, rather than you having to do this, right? So efficiency and automation is the first thing. Second is improved decision making. there are trends and patterns that humans may miss, and some potential risk can be flagged better by AI itself, right? So this is the second aspect of improved decision making, where humans can now focus on once the administrative burden has been taken away by AI, right? And also, once you are more efficient, it just leaves you with more time to spend time on these decisions, some more important decisions, right? And the third one is creative ideation. I would probably say creative ideation is the one which has got the most boost in the last 7 to 8 months. This is the main benefit that has been unlocked with apps like ChatGPT, Bard, because natural language conversations have become so good, and we are using AI powered tools as a writing assistant itself, right? So if you were to take away one thing from today's discussion, I would probably say focus on AI as doing all these three things rather than just the content creation or the writing assistant part, right? I see AI as becoming more like working assistants for us, or a personal coach to any of the functions, be it design, engineering, or product management, in as many domains as possible, right? They're not just going to help us write, becoming a writing assistant, but also as a work assistant or a personal coach in some ways. So that's one big takeaway from that we should take away from this discussion. All right, so let's move to the next part. So these are some everyday use cases for PMs, right? We do problem discovery and customer research, qualitative analysis, solution ideation, writing PRDs, road mapping of our features, prioritizing them, launch planning, go-to-market strategy. All of these are things which we write down as document and ideate, right? And meetings and stakeholder management plays a big role as well, right? And there are multiple other domains, multiple other use cases rather, for us as product managers. And I'll walk through some real world scenarios where AI can help us get more efficient. And we'll go through some of these tools. I'll not cover everything, but if you are to think about becoming more efficient, any repetitive task that exists in any of these use cases, probably an AI tool exists out there in the market which can automate a lot of that stuff. So when you're thinking about using AI tools, think about it from your existing workflows. What are you doing today in these different use cases that is very structured and can likely be automated through AI powered tools, right? So let's look at one use case. I'll pick up one use case here. The first one being, I think I'll talk about problem discovery and customer research, where we prepare a research brief, use a tool, maybe ChatGPT, Google Workspace, or Coda. I tend to use Coda, so I'll open up Coda as well, and we'll prepare a research brief. Then think about meeting with customers, synthesize findings from those customer research, and then make a PID out of that. So let me quickly now share my screen for my other tab. Give me a while. Okay, cool. I hope you can see my Google Doc now.
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. Amazing. So you can use any tool for this. Like I want to create a customer research brief, which I can use for conversing with customers, or give it to my research team who will conduct conversations with the customers, right? You can use ChatGPT, you can use Google Workspace as well. They have opened up beta access for the workspace, so some of them could be used. So let me quickly show you how I will do this. And some of this is, I think, standard and people have done this, but I'll point out what are the things that that can be improved in this. I'll not go into the prompt engineering domain, but essentially if you're doing, you want to write a customer research brief, you want to give as much context to the tool to be able to give you something which is very useful for you. So if you see here, what I've done is I've given it context as to what am I. I'm a PM responsible for acquiring and onboarding restaurant partners for a food delivery app. Customers are sales team, which comprises of inside sales and business development managers. I want to prepare a research brief for customer research, focusing on pain points and improvements with regards to a CRM tool, which is Salesforce. We use CRM for onboarding any new restaurants on the platform. And I'm asking the tool to come up with questions to ask during research, right? So if I use this, and let's say it's a formal tone that I keep, it starts generating some content which likely should be good enough for us to. Okay. So this it gives you objective, target audience, methodology, questions to ask. But these are very generic questions, right? You actually have to, if you feed the same to ChatGPT, it might give you a better structure, more elaborate things. So you need to give it all that context in order to make it more useful. I tend to use Coda. Coda is another alternative for Google Docs, more collaborative. But since I tend to use Coda because I love the AI features that come with Coda. So I'll talk about Coda. But this was just to show you how we can get some starting point for a document, and we can then start to improve this. This is definitely not a finalized version, but just a shitty first draft, I would say. So let's get to a different tool which I usually use, which is Coda. Just to give you a brief introduction, I think if your team is not using Coda, that's fine, but I tend to use it personally for myself. If your team is using Coda, that is amazing, because you can then collaborate with other people on Coda as well. But I tend to, it is very much similar to Notion. You can write down content, you can use AI to produce content, summarize content. So I'll show you some of the things that Coda can do, and you can probably utilize the same things in some other tools that you may be using, maybe Notion, or maybe just use ChatGPT itself for creating the content. So let's say I've opened up a new page, customer research. This is the same prompt that I asked Google Docs. Now I'm going to use the same for generating the customer research brief using Coda. So it gives me an option to write, creates a writing block, and let me just say this. Right, so it starts creating this brief, which is going to be very similar to what we saw on Google as well, but just more elaborate. And I like it in some sense, given that it gets more context. The moments that you put in Coda, if I had my whole folder of team in Coda, it will take that context as well. Now, if you see these sample questions, right, it's come up with some questions. How often do you use Salesforce? What are the most common pain points? How do these pain points impact your productivity? And these are some great questions, because one of the goals that we have behind using Salesforce is to make our teams more productive, and it's able to take that context automatically and realize why Salesforce is used, and ask some great questions. Now, let's say now you have these sample questions, you refine them, have a meeting with your research team, come up with some final questions, right? The next step would be to actually send out, let's say, emails to customers that you want to converse with. I'll not go through that workflow of sending emails, but what this tool can actually do is, if you have a table of customers, and then let's say these are customer transcripts that you want to track and store here, it can actually create a personalized message for each customer and send out emails here itself. You don't need to go to Gmail. The Coda tool actually integrates with Gmail so that you can start sending emails from here itself. It will give you an email button right in the table. You can see what the email is and then start sending them out, right? So something which I would have done in Gmail, which would have taken me, let's say 1 hour if I'm sending it to 10 to 12 customers, can be done literally in 10-15 minutes by organizing these customers in a table and then forming a personalized subject and personalized body of the email and integrating with Gmail and sending out emails right from Coda itself. Not going to do that. You can probably look at that on some of the YouTube tutorials for Coda that are there, but this is one of the things that can be done as well. Now, let's say now you have sent out the emails, you are going to have conversations with your customers, right? I now tend to use a few tools which are meeting assistants. One of the tools that I've been using in the past is called Poised. Poised actually does this, which is it analyzes your meetings. It's basically a communication coach for you. Now it gives you a transcript as well. So you can literally take the transcript in the meeting, whatever the meeting was with the customer, you can take the transcript, copy it, and move it back to Coda for summary, or you can directly get summarized conversations here. So if you look at the meeting summary here, it gives me some good summary points, some action items. This is obviously not a customer conversation. This was a conversation with the recruiter. So summary action items gives you instant performance feedback as well, which I can actually use to improve my communication in the next meeting that I have. What you did well, what to try for next time. Okay, I don't know. Okay, what to try for next time. There was lack of structure, missing context, and it actually gives you what you said itself to tell you, okay, you were using excessive filler words, right? You can improve your communication overall using tools like these. These are meeting assistants. So I've been using Poised. There are definitely some limitations of the tool itself. And what I've done is after this meeting, I'll share a list of tools that I've created separately. Some of it I have used personally, and I recommend. Some of them I haven't used, but I'll share this list of tools with everyone towards the end if you want to try it out and see if it matches your workflow. In different use cases, there are different tools for content creation, for grammar checks, for video summaries, image generation, etc. This one is specifically in the transcription and meeting assistant use case. I talked about Poised. There is Udly as well, which I just started using this week. I don't think I have any meetings to show here, but I think Udly is more actionable from your standpoint because it really tells you both, by the way, Udly as well as Poised, they are real-time communication feedback tools. So while you are speaking, it will also point out to you if you are speaking at a very fast pace, are you using filler words, etc. So I don't have any data here in terms of pacing and talk time, but probably I can show you that in Poised. So you can see like clarity was low, even though this is not actionable much. I think how Udly does it, that's more actionable. How many hedging words are you using? What is your pace? It is slightly fast, so you should slow down a little bit, right? And Udly does some more metrics on top of this, which are more actionable. I feel like Poise give you some metrics, but I don't think all of these are really actionable sometimes. But this is a good way for you to analyze conversations. Now, we were on the topic of customer conversations and what we would want ideally whenever you're talking with customers at the end, what were the learnings from the 10 different customer conversations that you had? right? So let's go back to Coda and see this. Now, let's say you're back on Coda, you are trying to record customer transcripts. For one purpose, I have actually made a table, jotted down the transcript. Now I have generated this transcript. This is not a real conversation. So I've generated this transcript between product manager and sales agent through ChatGPT itself. It tends to have good conversational nature. So I use ChatGPT for such generation. These are not real world, like in actual real world, if you're trying to discover a problem with customers, ChatGPT will just give you a good structure, but it can't tell you real problems that your customers are facing. So you'll have to actually talk to customers and get that. But I'm using this just for a demo purpose. So I've used a conversation with I've generated a conversation between a product manager and a sales rep, right? And you can do all these things with any of the tools. Can be Bard, can be ChatGPT. In fact, let me quickly show you another prompt document that I tend to use sometimes. I'll again link this into the AI tools, so you don't need to worry about making note of all of this. This is in the AI tools spreadsheet that I just showed. Now, this is by Carl Velotti, who has this I found on Twitter someday. And this gives you a good starting point into different kind of prompts for writing a pre-mortem, for doing a role play of user research. This gives you a good starting point of how to think about prompts as well. I'll not go into the details of this, but let's say if we were to generate, like how did I even generate the user research conversation using ChatGPT, right? I just copied this prompt and gave it some more structure, right? So actually, let's try doing this. I'll probably use again ChatGPT for generating the conversation, and we'll add it to the Coda doc. Okay, I've already written down some of it. So what are the questions okay, let's pick up the questions which Coda had generated. So these were some sample questions that we wanted to ask the customers. I'll copy them in. The problem, by the way, with some of these tools can be they might be too slow sometimes, or your browser itself, because I have 3 to 4 tools open. They slow down my browser. So just bear with me while I copy paste this. Okay, something happened. I think it closed down. We'll open it again. Okay, meanwhile, it loads. What I'll do is I'll just proceed. We'll come back to this. But the idea is once you've had the conversation with the customers, right? You want to synthesize learnings from those conversations, and you can literally use maybe you can do this through ChatGPT, where I have done this, which is fed it the summary, fed it the transcript, and it generated a summary. And then I categorized those summaries into some categories of what the features might look like, right? And you can again I'll link a good there is again a ChatGPT prompt for this, which is you can categorize it in certain ways. Someone who's a user researcher actually did a bunch of prompts and came up with the best prompt for categorizing user research transcripts. So I'll also add that in the AI tool. But let's say once you've done the conversations, now to show it to when you are actually having these conversations with your team, right? No one is going to go through like 12 different conversations, right? You just want a quick summary in a table format, and you can just do summarize at transcript, and it can just generate a quick summary for you in terms of what that conversation looked like. Yeah, this has generated like 4 or 5 bullet points. You can actually change the way it does this as well, the tone, the number of bullet points, etc. So I'll not go into all of that, but there's a good starting point for you to show this work to your team, so that then you can have conversation on what to make, what feature to make, right? Let's say we come up with this particular transcript where, we came up with, let's say, a feature of 2-factor authentication that needs to be built on the CRM tool, right? The next step here would be now going to a new product brief. Let's say we are now wanting to generate a PRD for a 2-factor authentication mechanism in the CRM tool. Now, this is something which has already been generated, but let me quickly show you how I did this. Let me remove all of this at the bottom. So once you do write, it opens up a block of AI. Right. So let's say write a PRD for enabling 2-factor authentication for the CRM tool. Right. This gives you a good starting point, good structure to begin with. And the great part about doing this in Coda is you don't need to, like, even without Coda, I was doing a back and forth between ChatGPT and my Google Doc. But what it does here is, the good part here is, if you want to change any subsection within this, you can actually do it here itself. So for example, there are no technical requirements that has come in the requirements, right? Maybe let's add a section for technical requirements and tell it to write the technical and keep it in a paragraph. Let's say we don't want a big paragraph, we want a small paragraph, so it'll just give us this in a paragraph here itself. And now you can obviously change what you like, what you don't like, what you want to keep, but this gives you a good starting point. You don't need to have that mental block of, okay, what will this require, and go through this whole doc if it seems good. You can do one more thing as well, which I really like. You can actually incorporate feedback from the customer research that we had, right? So if I were to give a new command, I'll probably say write a PRD for 2-factor authentication on the CRM tool, incorporating feedback from customer transcripts, right? What it does is it'll also create some kind of table. Now, because this is not real data, it will not make a lot of sense. But if this was real data, it can actually generate some of the customer transcripts and mention them here, like who said why this might be needed, etc. Right? So if you look at this, it has taken in feedback from those conversations. and mentioned why this must be needed. Like why are users saying, what are users saying about this? So it has all the context from the past, not from the past, but whatever you're storing inside the tool itself. Hence, very contextual. You don't need to, like maybe chat GPT, add context at every point. So this really helps create a document that you can now start to spread with your team. Maybe you copy this back to Google Docs, and if your whole team is on Google Docs, then you'll want to move it back to that. So that's the way to get a good first draft. And the second point I have here is, maybe you want some more charts and graphs. And my way of doing this is, don't you can use new tools, but I would really encourage the use of the AI features in existing tools itself. So for example, let me show you what I did for generating a flow chart. This is an actual thing which I did, which is when I wanted a flow chart, I usually used to go to Whimsical. And Whimsical had, they've come up with a new generate with AI feature, right? So instead of trying to go to a new tool, which is an AI first tool, I tend to use this itself. So let's say for these are, let's say, my 4 requirements for creating 2-factor authentication. I just feed it this, and it gives me again a good starting point. I don't need to create big blocks, spend 30 minutes making the workflow. But it really, if you give it this, it can create these blocks very quickly, and then I can just copy paste this into my Coda doc or Google Doc. In fact, this is the final case study that I ended up doing, which is combining customer research, making a PRD in Coda, and then adding a workflow from Whimsical, right? So I end up creating like this in like a couple of hours rather than maybe 8 to 9 hours that it would have maybe taken me without this, right? So this was the final end result, and then I spread it out with my team, right? It can create requirements as well. I asked it very specifically what can be the requirements, etc. Right? So just give it more context, keep it, leverage customer research as well from the past, and it can create a good base document that you can then spread with your team. So this is, I think, the creation of a good starting point for a PRD. Obviously, you need to then take feedback. And again, for feedback, I like using, if your team was using Coda, I think that's a good feature. Again, I won't go to more features, but you can actually write down things like, let me show you what I mean by that. You can actually take a pulse of the document here as well. It's called Dorian Pulse with AI, where your teammates can come and comment, and they can actually tell you, okay, how do they feel about this particular document, right? But obviously, if your team is not using Coda, this may not be really helpful. But you can actually, in Google Docs or in any other tool that you're using, you can also make a table where people can comment and add pulse. I'm sure Google will come up with some more interactions later on, but today it's only Coda that uses this. So that's pretty much it in terms of the whole process of going from raw customer research, organizing your conversations, generating transcripts, creating summaries, synthesizing your learnings, then creating a PRD that you can spread out among your team, and then execute. There are definitely some more tools out there which can automate other parts of a PM's life. I've not covered obviously everything. These are some of the tools that I personally use, and you can explore Coda, Poised, Otter, all of these other tools that I've talked about, and I've listed down these tools in the spreadsheet. Now, if I go back to quickly my presentation, I think there are some takeaways that I want to point out before we wrap up and open up for question and answers. Okay, so can you see my screen again on the deck?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I mostly talked about how I use Coda. Coda has these different features where you can generate, summarize, as well as summarize within the table. But the main takeaways from this whole discussion is one, as PMs, try and be the first adopters of some of these AI features on established products. I didn't talk about Figma, Slack. Maybe these are some of the common tools, established tools that you are using, and they have come up with some great features, right? I probably showed Whimsical as one of the more established products which has added this ability. But really, as PMs, I think we are going to play a role in also introducing all of these efficient workflows for our teams. So try and be the first adopters of any such product that comes out. Slack is also coming up with a lot of AI features in terms of summarizing discussions within different channels, which will make life easier for everyone, right? So I think that is going to be the table stakes that you must do as a PM. While trying out new AI tools, but choose the ones that really fit your workflows. The ones that I described here really did fit my workflow, hence I adopted them, and it becomes much more easier to adopt if they actually help you in becoming more efficient rather than you trying to uh, bake your workflow into a tool which is completely new, completely different. It takes a while for adoption personally as well as within a team. There are no such, and it's a high churn space. There are multiple tools that are coming up in different domains, be it meeting assistance, content creation, PRD creation itself. So you don't know which tools are great here until and unless you actually use them uh, and uh, and see if they actually fit your use case. Once maybe 1.5 years from now, when there are some clear winners in these different domains start emerging, then I think it'll be much more easier to adopt these established leaders in these fields. But for now, because it's a high churn space, you really want to latch onto the tools that fit your workflow. It requires some bit of time to try out these new tools and then see if you can actually fit them or not, right? So table stakes, adopt AI features of established tools that you're already using. Second, try out new AI tools. And a way to do that is just stay updated on new AI tools. I personally recommend Ben Bytes newsletter. That's a good one. I'll again link it to the doc that I'm going to share, which talks a lot about what is happening in AI space and what are the new tools that are coming up if you want to try out new AI tools, and then using Product Hunt for this space. In fact, again, I have tried to do this, which is I have baked Product Hunt into my uh, daily use case itself. And how I've done it is Product Hunt comes with its Chrome extension. So whenever I open Chrome, the first page is a Product Hunt page, and I can actually go to AI tools in that Chrome extension itself to see what are the new tools coming in. If you keep it as something which you will check later, that hardly happens, right? So going back to the second point, which is bake all of this into your workflow itself. Every time you open Chrome, you will come up with a new tool, see a new tool, maybe try that out, right? So those are some of the things that you should do to just keep updated on this space. And that's it. We'll open up for questions. This is the resource list that I was talking about. I'll probably add some more tools by the end of day today. So just go to this bit.ly link and you can access the spreadsheet that I showed. Cool. Thank you, folks. Let's open up for some questions.
Folks, we still have a few minutes. We can definitely take in a few questions. As Mayank was talking about, the space being getting crowded. There's a lot of products out there right now, but doesn't mean the value is not there, right? So you'll have to keep trying out various tools which fit your workflows, your personal, I would say, style of working. But there's no doubt that AI tools will not add value to whatever you're doing, personally or professionally. We have a question from Nithinan. You should probably check them out on their website, Nithinan. Some of them are free up to a degree. Some of them have free trials and the others are paid, right? So it totally depends on the tools.
Yeah, I've tried to keep most of them free versions because I don't want, like, those are much more easier to just adopt, right? Most of the AI are also coming up with the free version itself in some form. They'll try to limit the usage but give you still a free version. So the ones that I've listed, most of them have both free and paid version so that you can try it out and then see. Another question is, how would AI transform the PM role? I think I touched a little bit upon this, which is, like, as PMs, a lot of the work that we do will start flowing into other areas. You can now do design as well because there are some basic designs available through these AI tools, right? So PMs will start focusing not just on adjacent spaces more, but also the value of PM work would get derived more from the solving more thornier problems, solving much more deeper problems, and innovating more. So I would say, as a PM, the focus should now be towards becoming, how can you improve your creativity? How can you improve your innovation rather than doing project management? Project management at some point will become likely totally automated in some sense. I don't know if you have thoughts, Kushal, on that. Please feel free to add.
Yeah, I agree. I would say high level trivial tasks are already like sort of automated by the first generation of automation tools like Zapier, Integromat, etc. Right now, we've gotten with a generative AI, we've taken it up a big notch in terms of knowledge tasks also being automated. So a lot of these tasks could be done by ChatGPT, tools like ChatGPT, etc. So a lot of I would say low-level thinking and coordination and automations will now be taken care of with some basic reasoning skills which these generative AI tools demonstrate. After which, I think a lot of high-quality thinking and solving problems at depth, as Mayank mentioned, would now be tackled, or it frees up the time for product folks to tackle that. So if you're not using AI tools, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage if you think about it, because PMs who or product folks who really are truly want to like innovate their product or like make the product much radically better than the competition already would have thought about automating a lot of their mundane tasks using AI and just focus more on the product itself.
There are some more questions around, is there a good site for prompt engineering? I have one linked in the tool, in the sheet that I'm going to share. That's specifically for generating different kind of documentations for product managers. But that doesn't talk about general prompt engineering. I think there must be some other resources out there. I haven't done a lot of research on prompt engineering itself. But definitely for one, I would recommend that one resource in my document for documentation purposes for product managers. The other ones are send the link. Okay, yeah, I'll also post the link here in the Zoom chat for this document. I can't see any other questions. Let me know if there are some questions which I may be missing. Cool. If not, then
I think people who are generally interested about prompt engineering, there's a great course by Andrew and G at deeplearning.ai. So I just shared the link. You can complete the course. It'll take a few hours more if you're testing the prompts yourself in parallel, but it has enough information for you to get started.
this one is for, okay, seems like this is for developers, is it?
It's written for developers, but it's not that complex.
Got it. But yeah, I think prompt engineering is going to become a field in itself, like probably.
Yeah, it totally is. Yeah, I think yeah, a lot of people are already putting it on their resumes today because it's a useful skill set. It's already a useful skill set. Knowing how to get the right output from the large language model or a generative AI model with the inputs that you have is an art in itself.
Yeah.
But I would say more of a science. If you know the fundamentals, then you can obviously with such prompt engineering courses, it's easy to build, folks.
Have you seen actually hiring being done for these roles as well? Now,
not yet, but in the US, at least I've seen job openings requiring prompt engineering as a skill set.
Yeah, probably people who are building these models, they need prompt engineers to test out different kinds of queries, come up with the right prompts to even qualitatively assess is the model getting, etc.
Yep.
Cool. All right. I think questions are done.
We probably have time for just a single question, folks. If you have anyone wants to drop in a question. All right. Cool. I think with that, we'll end today's star session. Thanks, Mayank, for joining us and sharing your wisdom as always. A lot of takeaways, I'm pretty sure, for people who have joined in today. Some of these topics are really new for you as well, might be new. I would say do appropriate reading where necessary. And of course, the more you try getting your hands dirty in terms of using these tools, the better you will get a hang of how to use them, right? So to the question which Priyal has dropped probably from the LinkedIn Live participant, what prompt engineering courses are best for non-programming folks, for designers and PMs? I would recommend the deep learning course, again, as I mentioned, is not very complex, that it is only tailored for developers. If you are reasonably technical, it will be a good, it's an excellent entry point to understand how prompt engineering works and what range of prompts these LLMs can support, because trust me, it's a massive range of instructions which large language models can understand, right? Once you have an understanding of what all can be shared to LLMs to get specific outputs, you can design your application or use case to use these large language models accordingly. How to measure accuracy? I'm assuming this is with respect to outputs of large language models. It's a longer discussion, to be honest, because there are no clear evaluation metrics for text output from large language models today. It depends on the use case and depends on a data which you compare. You have standardized for your use case, and then you measure the output of the model based on that data to measure how well the particular version of the model is performing.
Yeah, I think usually there are two approaches which I think most of the content creation tools are using. One is they have a test bed of queries against which actually manually people have verified that this is the right answer or not. That's one way through which they test out against that already trained trained queries, right? They test out whether the new model version has gone forward or backward in terms of accuracy through the actual manually verified queries. And then second one, I think, is just the tool itself, how the people are using the tool. So let's say if you tend to be on the same thread, ask that same question again with a different text, or you are probably downvoting. If you've seen ChatGPT, there's a way to downvote that you didn't like the answer, etc. Right? These are some implicit signals that you are getting, that you are giving the tool that you don't like the first version of the answer itself, right? So these are some of the ways in which LLMs themselves are determining their accuracy. But this is again a developing space. Even like people are also not clear as to what other metrics could come in, how can they better improve accuracy. So again, this measurement area is also pretty new for everyone in this space.
All right. Thanks, Mayank. Folks, we'll end today's session at this with this final question answered. Thanks, Mayank, again, for taking the time out to be with us today. People who are tuned in on LinkedIn as well as who joined us at Zoom, thanks for joining. Keep tuned in for the next star session, which is going to happen next week. And of course, if we start the new PM School cohort, the flagship program, in 2 weeks. And if you're interested, Prayal would have reached out, sent out an email earlier. We'll be doing a follow-up to that. And if you're interested, please reach out to us, and we'll be happy to talk more about how we can help you on your product management journey. Finally, this recording will be made live on YouTube, and you will receive it over the communication or email as well. With that, let's end today's session. Thanks again, Mayank. Thanks everyone for joining in.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.